I've been called a rebel, a holy disruptor, and a traitor to my own blood. But you know what? I'll take those labels any day if it means telling the truth. For years, I've watched Anna stand by a man who didn't deserve a second of her loyalty. I've sent the texts, I've made the calls, and I've prayed for the day she'd finally choose herself. That day has finally come. Anna is packing her bags for Texas, but this isn't a happy family reunion. It's an escape from the walls of the big house and the chains of a marriage that should have ended years ago. But Josh isn't letting her go without a fight. Even from a prison cell in Seagoville, he's still trying to pull the strings. We've uncovered the chilling details of the threats he's making to keep her in Arkansas under Jim Bob's thumb. In this video, we are spending the next 70 minutes breaking down every secret, every letter, and the real reason Anna is finally running for her life. My name is Amy King, and it's time to get loud with the truth. You know, people think they know the Duggars from what they saw on TV, but the real drama happens when the cameras are off and the lights are low. I remember getting a message, one of those hushed, urgent whispers from someone deep inside the fold. They told me Anna was finally looking at real estate in Texas. At first, my heart leaped. I thought she's finally doing it. She's getting away. But then the reality of the situation set in. Josh is currently incarcerated in Seagoville, Texas. For Anna to move there, it means she's moving closer to him, but also further away from the daily suffocating oversight of Jim Bob and the compound in Arkansas. It's a terrifying tightrope to walk. She's been living in a $1 million home that Jim Bob bought for her, a house that's just a short drive from the big house. To the world, it looks like a gift, but those of us who know the truth see it for what it is, a gilded cage. Why would she leave that luxury? Because she's realizing that a golden shackle is still a shackle. This move isn't just about a change of scenery. It's a desperate attempt to find a version of life that doesn't involve being a Duggar puppet. But the moment she started packing those boxes, the pushback started. Josh isn't ready to lose his only remaining link to his public image, and he's using every manipulation tactic he has left to keep her anchored exactly where he can control her. Let's talk about that house in Arkansas for a minute. Jim Bob Duggar is a master of conditional generosity. He bought Anna that beautiful $1 million mansion, but let's be real. It was never meant to be a home for her and the kids. It was a holding cell to keep her from running away. In that house, she's surrounded by Duggar loyalists. Every move she makes, every person who visits, and every grocery trip is reported back to the patriarch. I've heard stories of the silence in those hallways. Can you imagine raising 7 children in a mansion where the atmosphere is thick with shame and secrets? Jim Bob wants her there because as long as Anna is in Arkansas, he can maintain the lie that the family is healing. But Anna isn't a child anymore. She's a mother who has to look into the eyes of 7 kids every day and explain why their father isn't coming home. For a long, long time, living in that 1 million cage became too much. She started to realize that the protection Jim Bob offered was actually a barrier to her own growth. Moving to Texas is her way of saying she's done being the poster child for a ministry that failed her. But Jim Bob isn't used to losing control, and the tension in that house before she left was enough to break anyone. The Texas move is complicated, and honestly, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, Moving to Texas puts Anna right in the backyard of the federal prison where Josh is serving his time. It makes visitations easier for the kids, which I know is a priority for her. But on the other hand, it's a bold middle finger to the Arkansas compound. By moving to Texas, she is physically removing herself from the immediate reach of Jim Bob's daily influence. I've seen the reports. She's been spotted in Texas looking at properties, trying to find a place where she can just be Anna and not Josh Duggar's wife. But here's the scary part. Josh is still very much in her ear. Moving closer to the prison means more frequent contact, and more contact means more opportunities for Josh to exert his psychological control. It's a brave move, but it's also a dangerous one. She's trading one set of eyes for another. In Arkansas, it was Jim Bob watching her. In Texas, it'll be Josh's constant demands from behind bars. My fear is that she's jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire, but at least in Texas, she has a chance to breathe without the entire Duggar clan breathing down her neck. No, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, how Josh is still communicating with the outside world. It's been reported that Josh has been in trouble for having a contraband phone inside the prison. For most inmates, that's a way to call home, but for Josh, it's a way to keep his grip on Anna. I've heard that the messages he's been sending aren't exactly love letters. They are full of warnings. When he found out she was serious about the Texas move and potentially distancing herself from his father's financial support, he flipped. He's reportedly been using those secret messages to threaten her with everything from spiritual consequences to legal battles over the children once he's out. He wants her to remain the submissive wife, waiting at the gates, never questioning him. The fact that he's willing to risk more time in the SHU special housing unit just to have a phone to monitor her shows you exactly how desperate he is. He knows that if Anna truly finds her independence, his last shred of a good man image is gone forever. Those secret messages are his final weapon, and he's using them to make sure Anna stays terrified. People ask me all the time, Amy, why don't you just stay quiet? Why do you have to be so loud about your family's business? Well, I'll tell you why. Because silence is exactly what abusers thrive on. For 20 years, the Duggars used discretion as a cover for some of the most horrific things imaginable. I've been called a holy disruptor, and I wear that like a badge of honor. I can't sit back and watch Anna get manipulated by a man who is currently sitting in a cell for crimes that make my stomach turn. If I don't speak up, who will? Jim Bob. He's too busy protecting his brand. The other sisters, they're doing their best to heal, but they have their own trauma to deal with. I'm in a unique position where I can see the truth from the outside and shout it from the rooftops. My goal isn't to hurt Anna, it's to wake her up. I want her to know that she has a whole world of support outside of that cult-like environment. Being a disruptor means breaking the cycle of gaslighting that has kept women in this family silent for generations. If my voice can be the one that gives Anna the courage to finally block Josh's calls and start a real life in Texas, then I've done my job. Money has always been the ultimate leash in the Duggar family. Jim Bob isn't just a father-in-law. He's a landlord, an employer, and a gatekeeper. For years, he controlled the paychecks from the show, and now he controls the real estate. By purchasing a $1 million home for Anna in April 2025, he wasn't just giving her a place to sleep, he was ensuring she stayed beholden to his rules. If Anna leaves Arkansas for good, she leaves the mansion. She leaves the security. It's a classic move from the IBLP playbook. Keep them dependent so they can't afford to rebel. I've seen how Jim Bob flips properties through various LLCs, like Soli Deo Gloria, which was once tied to Anna. It's all a shell game. Anna has been trying to find her own feet, reportedly launching a dog breeding business from that same Arkansas home to bring in some independent cash. But let's be real, breeding golden retrievers is a long way from the financial independence she needs to support 7 kids without Jim Bob's signature on the checks. The money is a chain, and right now, Jim Bob is holding the keys. We have to think about the kids. Mackenzie Michael, Marcus, Meredith, Mason, Mariella, and Madison, 7 precious lives caught in the middle of this nightmare. Right now, their entire world is the Duggar compound or the warehouse home they lived in for years. If they stay in Arkansas, they are raised in a bubble of cult denial and toxic loyalty. They grow up seeing their grandpa as the ultimate authority and their father as a victim of the world. A move to Texas is about more than just a new house. It's about a new environment. Even if they are closer to the prison, they are further from the Duggar way of doing things. In Texas, they have a chance to see a world that doesn't revolve around their grandfather's political ambitions or property deals, but it's a gamble. Will they be used as pawns in Josh's prison visitation games? I want those kids to have a childhood where they don't have to carry the weight of their father's crimes. Texas could be the start of that, but only if Anna has the strength to keep the compound's influence out of their new front door. Life inside for Josh isn't exactly the redemption arc the family might have hoped for. Reports have come out that he's spent time in the SU, the special housing unit, or the hole, because of his behavior, including that contraband phone. When an inmate is in the SU, they lose almost all contact, no visits, limited calls, just 4 walls and their own thoughts. That isolation breeds desperation. When Josh is cut off, he gets more aggressive with the contact he does have. He knows his sentence of over 12 years is a long time for a wife to stay faithful in the face of zero support from him. His desperation is what fuels those threats. He's scared that while he's rotting in a cell in Seagoville, the world is moving on without him. He's scared that Anna will realize she's a beautiful, capable woman who doesn't need a predator for a husband. The more time he spends in the SU, the more he tries to burn down Anna's progress from the inside. It's a toxic cycle of control that doesn't stop just because there are bars between them. For a long time, it felt like Anna was completely alone, but the Keller family, her birth family, might finally be waking up. Some of her siblings have reportedly been encouraging her to distance herself, even offering her places to stay away from Arkansas. But there's a lot of pressure there, too. The Kellers were raised in the same high control religious circles as the Duggars. Leaving a marriage, even one as broken as this, is seen as a sin in their world. But I've heard whispers that some of her brothers and sisters are tired of seeing Anna used as a shield for Josh's reputation. If Anna moves to Texas, she might be looking for a middle ground closer to Josh to appease the faithful wife narrative, but closer to her own siblings who might actually give her the courage to leave for good. It's a tug of war for her soul. On one side, you have the Kellers and people like me saying, run. And on the other, you have Jim Bob saying, stay and be silent. Anna is caught in the middle, trying to decide which family she can actually trust. We have to realize why this is so hard for Anna. She isn't just fighting a husband, she's fighting generations of trauma. In the world we were raised in, a woman's identity is tied to her submission. If she fails as a wife, she's told she's failing God. That kind of brainwashing doesn't just disappear because your husband goes to prison. For Anna, breaking the cycle means admitting that everything she was taught about protection was a lie. It means admitting that the man she gave her life to is someone who committed the worst of the worst crimes. That is a terrifying reality to wake up to. It's easier to stay in denial. It's easier to take the 1 million house and play the part. But I see the cracks. I see the Texas move as a sign that the trauma is finally becoming too heavy to carry. She's starting to realize that if she doesn't break the cycle now, her daughters, Mackenzie, Meredith, Mariella, and Madison, will be the ones paying the price in 20 years. And as their cousin, I will keep being loud until she knows she has a safe place to land when that cycle finally breaks. With Josh locked away, there's a massive power vacuum in Anna's home, and Jim Bob Duggar is more than happy to fill it. He isn't just acting as a grandfather, he is stepping in as the spiritual head of Anna's household. In the IBLP world, a woman must have a male covering. Since Josh is incapacitated, Jim Bob has reclaimed his position as the ultimate authority over Anna and those 7 children. I've heard that he's the one making the big decisions where the kids go to school, what they are allowed to watch, and even who Anna is allowed to associate with. By keeping her in Arkansas, he made sure he was the only man she looked to for guidance. This Texas move is such a threat to him because it means he loses that daily patriarchal control. If she moves, she might start looking to her own brothers or, heaven forbid, herself for direction. Jim Bob's plan has always been to keep the Duggar brand unified, and he knows that if the loyal daughter-in-law stops following his script, the whole facade of the umbrella of protection falls apart. People were surprised when they found out Anna was reportedly trying to start a dog breeding business, specifically golden retrievers, out of her Arkansas home. To some, it looked like a hobby, but to those who know the situation, it looked like desperation. Anna knows that as long as Jim Bob pays the bills, he owns her soul. She was looking for a way, any way, to have a bank account that didn't have a Duggar patriarch's name on it. But think about the scale of it. You can't support 7 children and a lifestyle in a 100 million mansion by selling a few puppies a year. It was a drop in the bucket compared to what she needs. I believe the failure of that business to provide real independence is part of why the Texas move became so urgent. She realized she couldn't earn Jim Bob's control while living in his house. In Texas, she might be looking for a fresh start where she isn't just the woman with the dogs under Jim Bob's thumb, but a woman actually trying to build a life on her own terms. It was a brave attempt at independence, but it proved just how tight the financial chains really are. What can't talk about the present without acknowledging the ghost that never left the room? Ashley Madison, when that scandal broke years ago, it should have been the end. Josh admitted to being a hypocrite and to a secret life of infidelity and addiction. Anna was told to forgive and move on, to believe that a stint in a faith-based rehab would fix everything. But you don't just fix that kind of betrayal with a few prayers and a rebranding campaign. That ghost still haunts Anna every single day. Every time Josh calls from prison, every time he issues a threat. That history of deceit is the backdrop. She stayed through the infidelity, she stayed through the first scandals, and she even stayed through the trial. But the Ashley Madison ghost is a reminder that Josh's pattern of behavior didn't start in a vacuum. It's who he is. I think part of her move to Texas is an attempt to find Lee outrun that ghost. But as long as she's still married to him, he'll always be right behind her, using his past to manipulate her future. I talk to the cousins and the siblings, and while everyone is careful with their words publicly, the sister in law group chat is a different story. Jill and Jinger have both found their way out of the IBLP mindset, and they've been watching Anna's situation with a mix of heartbreak and frustration. They want her to be free, but they also know the cost better than anyone. I've heard that they've tried to reach out to offer a safe place, but the walls around Anna are high. Jill, especially, has been very vocal about the financial abuse she suffered at the hands of her father, and she sees the same thing happening to Anna. The secret opinion among the sisters who have left is that the Texas move is a step in the right direction, only if it's away from Jim Bob. But they are terrified that if she's just moving closer to Josh, she's just changing one master for another. They are rooting for her, but they are also holding their breath, waiting to see if she has the strength to take the final step and truly walk away from the Duggar machine. Let's get into the dark heart of this, the alleged final threat. When an abuser feels their control slipping, they escalate. It's a pattern we see time and time again. As Anna began the process of looking at Texas and pulling away from the Arkansas compound, Josh's communication reportedly changed from repentant husband to threatening patriarch. The threat wasn't necessarily physical, it was psychological and spiritual. I've heard reports that he's threatened to use the family's legal resources, Zay, which we know means Jim Bob's money, to fight her for custody or to cut her off from every resource she has if she doesn't obey his commands from prison. He's reportedly told her that without him and his father, she is nothing and has nothing. That is the final threat, the attempt to convince her that her only value is as his submissive wife. It's a chilling reminder that those prison bars might stop him from hurting the world, but they haven't stopped him from trying to destroy Anna's spirit. There is a massive difference between the air you breathe in Northwest Arkansas and what Anna might find in Texas. Arkansas is the stronghold. It's where the Duggar name still carries weight and where Jim Bob's influence is woven into the local culture. Moving her 7 children to Texas, even if it's to be closer to where Josh is incarcerated, actually offers a strange kind of freedom from the compound mentality. In Texas, they aren't just the M kids from the TV show, they have a chance to be a bit more anonymous. I've always said that those kids deserve to know a world that doesn't revolve around their grandfather's rules or their father's crimes. A move to Texas is a cultural shift. It's a chance for Anna to see that life goes on without Jim Bob's constant approval. It's a chance for the kids to see people living differently, thinking differently, and worshiping differently. My hope is that the Texas sun burns off the Arkansas fog and that Anna realizes she can build a fortress for her children that isn't built on Duggar secrets. But the battle for Anna's autonomy is being fought in more places than just her living room. It's being fought in prison records. We know Josh was moved to the special housing unit a shoe after he was caught with a contraband cell phone. That phone was his lifeline for control. When the authorities take those devices away, it's a temporary win for Anna's mental health. Every time Josh loses his privileges, he loses his ability to keep Anna in a state of constant check in. There are people, advocates, and even some family members who are closely watching his behavior behind bars. If Josh continues to use his limited communication to harass or threaten Anna about her relocation or her independence, it can be reported. The fight right now is to make sure the walls of Seagoville actually do their job to keep a predator from reaching out and continuing to victimize his own wife. Anna needs a firewall between her and Josh's manipulation, and sometimes it takes the federal prison system to provide the boundaries she can't yet set for herself. I've said it before, and I'll say it 1,000 more times if I have to, Anna. There is no shame in divorce. In the world she was raised in, they treat divorce the ultimate sin. But what about the sin of what Josh did? What about the betrayal of his marriage vows and the safety of children? Divorce isn't quitting, it's choosing peace. Rumors of a split have been circulating for years, and every time they erupt, it's because the world wants her to be free. Real peace for Anna will never come as long as she is legally and spiritually bound to a man who refuses to take real accountability. As long as she stays, she is condoning the abuse by her silence. I want her to know that the moment she signs those papers, a weight will lift that she's been carrying since the day she said, I do. She has 7 beautiful reasons to walk away. Her children deserve a mother who is no longer a faithful wife to a monster, but a woman who stood up for what was right. My journey as the rebel cousin wasn't easy. I was judged, I was labeled crazy, and I was told I was rebellious for simply wanting to wear jeans or have my own voice. But looking back, that rebellion was actually my salvation. I found a life built on true faith, a husband who actually respects me, and a voice that can no longer be silenced. I want Anna to see that there is life after the Duggars. My own healing came from therapy, from setting boundaries, and from being willing to be the villain in Jim Bob's story so I could be the hero in my own. I'm not just shouting at Anna from the sidelines, I'm calling her toward the light. I've done the work. I've felt the sting of family rejection, and I can tell her with 100% certainty the freedom is worth the fire. Reclaiming her narrative means she stops being a character in Josh's tragedy and starts being the author of her own story. As we close this chapter of the story, my final message is for Anna herself. Anna, the world is watching you, not with judgment, but with hope. We see the boxes. We see the move to Texas. We see you trying to find a way to breathe. But don't just move your house, move your heart. You have been through an impossible trial surrounded by the wrong kind of support. You don't have to wait until 2032 to be free. You can be free today. My door is open, my phone is on, and there is a whole community of survivors waiting to embrace you the moment you decide to walk out of that gilded cage for good. Don't let Josh choose your history for you. Be the role model your kids need. I'm Amy King, and I'm going to keep being loud, keep being a disruptor, and keep praying for the day you finally realize that you are enough all on your own. Thank you for listening to the truth. It's the only thing that will ever truly set us free.